Welcome back. It's your business. It is a Friday. Good to have you listening. We were out of the building just before the show this morning. A little gas leak. The folks still checking. They say everything is good. You guys are essential personnel. You can stay in the building. You know, you kind of worry this time of year about the gas smell. Could be in your house, could be in your building. Don't play around with it. Get it tested, and we evacuated the building until we got the go-ahead, and we're back in. Ron Nelson was invited to come over, but he thought that it might be a bad deal if he got into the building with us this morning. So he has stayed away, and that's a good deal for him.
Between the gas leak and the cold temperatures, Bill, I just couldn't muster the intestinal fortitude to get down to the studio. So we got cell phones for, right?
Absolutely. Nelson Commercial Real Estate, what we talk about. Ron's been on the show for a number of years. Now, you want to play good deal or bad deal? Sometimes I'll watch no deal on television, but what are we doing this morning?
Yeah, I'm not Howie Mandel. What's his program? Deal or no deal? So it's kind of like that, but I thought it'd be kind of a fun way to incorporate some kind of general real estate principles in real life situations. And these aren't just hypotheticals. They're, literally deals that, we look at and scenarios that we look at. So, let's just, if you want to kind of be my counterpart, Bill,
I'm your straight man.
Let's try a couple of things. If you're looking at some deals, sometimes things on the surface might not be so obvious. So let's just throw a couple scenarios out there and see what you think. Okay, scenario number one. You have some money to invest and you're thinking about buying an income property. You've identified a 6-unit apartment building for sale that intrigues you. It's in an older part of town that doesn't have a lot of apartments. The unit shows some normal wear and tear, and you don't mind getting your hands dirty, doing some cleanup, a little sweat equity. Property's been on the market for 8 months. The rate of return seems pretty good. It's almost 10%, when most of the others you've looked at are in that 8 to 8.5% range. So with the information that I presented to you, Bill, good deal or bad?
Well, I would ask one question. Occupancy rate has been what?
Well, at the moment, we don't have that information. Certainly it's something you dig in and learn more. In a short program here, we're trying to short circuit a process that can take, have some complexity. And so we're kind of trying to touch on the highlights.
I would say good deal if the occupancy rate is reasonable.
Okay. I'm gonna take the other side, Bill. I'm gonna say it's a bad deal. And why do you think I say that? We're talking about apartments here. This to me, consideration gets down to, and it's especially important for apartments. It's down to that whole location, overused words that are still very valid and relevant here. But part of town is the key in those facts. Like I said, limited information that we have here, but, neighborhood is a key in making a residential purchase. You can have the nicest building, provide the best management, but if you're in a tough part of town, people you want won't be coming there, no matter how nice your unit is or how reasonable your rents might be. Hard to know if the rents are low or high for the area, because that's something else you want to look at, because there's not that many apartments in the area, and you have to ask yourself that question. Does that mean opportunity? I won't have as much competition, or is it in fact because there's no demand for apartments in that area?
You said it had been on the market 8 months.
As an investment category are hot. What's that?
You said it had been on the market 8 months, which is
8 months.
A pretty good indicator.
Well, exactly. Apartments are one of the hottest investment categories, in our market, locally as well as nationally. We have 3,000 to 4,000 people coming in every year in Sioux Falls. So if you've got a good apartment property, like I said, and you pointed out as well, it's been on the market for 8 months, and actually the rate of return is higher. So that too is a little bit of a red flag. If it's a hot property, shouldn't it have been snatched up by now? I mean, you could look and see if it might be a diamond in the rough, but generally our advice would be stay away. Here's a little pearl of wisdom for you, and that is kind of a spinoff of the location saying, and that is you can't manage your way out of a bad location. So start with the right location, identify kind of maybe your general boundaries of where you will and won't buy property, and just stick with your guns. So that's an investment consideration on the good deal or bad deal game. We'll run out one more here on more of a retail kind of a user situation. You've got a mattress store, and you need more space. So there's some options out there in the market, and so you're out looking. You need a pretty big space, but you don't want to spend top retail rents because, mattress furniture stores in general take quite a bit of space, a lot of times to display their wares and get this big spot with big rents, and now your overhead gets unmanageable. So you kind of want the best for the least, the highest visibility location for the cheapest rent. So you found a space. You found a good option. It's kind of unique. It's right in the beehive, as we call it, which is right in the middle of the, high traffic area. But this space has been vacant for several years. Why is that? Well, it's an unusual configuration. It's somewhat hidden. But, the landlord is tired of the vacancy, and he listens to our program, which we've said, with the potential downturn in the economy, get aggressive, get your vacancies filled. So he's listened to our program and decided to do that. So he's getting very aggressive on price. He's going to steeply discount the rent just to get somebody in the space. And actually, the space works for this mattress business. The low rent, that's attractive. The negatives of the odd configuration don't bother you that much. Somewhat of a concern that it's hidden, but you think maybe with some creative signage, creative storefront, you can overcome this obstacle as well. Good deal or bad, Bill?
I would get scared about the fact that we have a lot of mattress companies, and it's been vacant for a while, and there may be a stigma with the location as a mattress company. For me, it'd be a bad deal.
Okay.
And you're going to take the other side.
Kind of sets you up on a couple of these. I'm going to say it depends, and it depends on what type of business you have. Now, I identified that it's a mattress business, but what I mean by that in terms of the type of business is, are you a destination business or a commodity business? Sorry about that. Another line ringing here. If you're a commodity, which means you've got a lot of competition, you're going to want to be very sensitive to, not being tougher to get to than your competition. If you're a destination type of business, customers will work a little harder to get to. By destination, I mean you are more unique. You're a little less of a commodity, and so that depends. But mattress stores, like you said, there's a lot of mattress stores in town, a lot of competition. You want to make sure if this space is something you want to move forward on, you got a plan to make this space stand out. Like I said, it's a little hidden or whatever. So I guess the bottom line is if you can get comfortable with these obstacles, don't let low price, destroy your objectivity. Might be a great deal for you. Win for the landlord, win for the tenant. You're getting a good price. There is a lot of traffic there. You just need to figure out how to direct that traffic into your front door. You might want to try to negotiate even a termination option with the landlord that just says, look, I'm taking a chance on your space. I don't want to be bound in if it doesn't work. Not a lot of landlords are going to be receptive for that, but, never hurts to ask. Of course, that's where you can plug in your commercial broker to give you some competent advice and, things like that. But, Bill, I'm going to leave a takeaway saying, another pearl of wisdom from today's program. But I've given out two scenarios. What's the common element in both of these scenarios?
Well, for me, it was the price, location.
Price is attractive.
Don't be afraid to ask questions and have somebody like a Nelson Commercial Real Estate that knows what they're doing.
So this pearl of wisdom today, the takeaway for today is it's better to pay more for something, whether it's rent or, something like that. Better to pay more for something that works than less for something that doesn't. And I can give you a lot of examples over the years of specifically retail locations where the lure of low price was attractive, and for years tenants struggled not doing the business just because, they just weren't attracting the customers. They didn't have the traffic count, whatever. And so it turned out to be, kind of a bad decision. So hopefully these are some scenarios in kind of a fun little, deal or no deal, good deal or bad deal type format that is a little fun. One more quick tip that is very important if you're shopping for property out there, and that is just simply do not ever make a deal without contingencies in it that allow you to check several things, several questions that you might not have answered at the time you've inked your deal, but specifically put a city ordinance condition or contingency in there. Zoning and building code laws can be tricky. I mean, we are a growing city, and what might make sense to you on the surface might not be allowed at the city. I mean, I've been doing this, Bill, for a lot of years. I was on the group who helped draft and implement the new zoning ordinance, and I don't understand all of it. I'm always at City Hall asking if we can do a certain use at a certain location. So easiest way to kill a deal is forget to check with the city. So that should be one of the first things that you do in looking at any deal.
Let me ask you one general question, because we brought it up in the mattress function itself. If it has been idle and it was a mattress store, a lot of times, if it's going to be something else, it may have a better chance than being a mattress store that failed. And in most places, people won't know if it failed or succeeded, but they know what it was, and they may never have gone in or wanted to go in.
So what's the question?
The question is,
location or bad?
Yeah, if you've had another business in there similar, and it's been vacant for a while, not knowing if it's good, bad, or indifferent, the fact that it is the same kind of business going back in, is that a plus or a minus?
So what your question is really, do locations become stigmatized? Do we as the consumer just say, you find that not so much probably in a mattress store as much as restaurants, for whatever reason, 2 or 3 restaurants go out of a location and somebody says, yep, that's just a bad location. Nobody seems to ever to be able to make it there. It's got to be the location, Many times it is. One of my favorite examples, and it's an old one, but still going strong, is Famous Dave's on Minnesota Avenue. That was a location that had indeed struggled. It was the Crackspot. It was Casey's. I want to say it was called. And, nothing wrong with those businesses. They just kind of, their time had come and gone. And so a lot of restaurants would indeed be concerned about that. Famous Dave said, doesn't bother us, and here's the reality. I would just say that whole stigmatized location thing is largely a fallacy, because, we as consumers in 3 months after a new business opens in a location, don't even remember, we can live in this town for our whole life. And you say, who was in that location last year? It's like, I forgot, we look past that. And so I've seen that proved wrong so many times, but there are certain businesses, specifically restaurants, even the operators sometimes get a little jumpy, a little worried about that. And so, it gets down to an individual case-by-case situation, but largely I would say don't pay too much attention to, the fact that a property gets stigmatized. It's about your operation.
There you go.
If you've got a great operation, they don't care.
It's a deal. Nelson Commercial Real Estate. Ron, we'll talk soon.